Okay, welcome back. Now you'll notice that I've managed to create that little gap there between the menu and the header. I'll just show you what I did there. I'll go back into the header document, header.php. Now I don't recommend this is the best way of doing it, but previously I just put a break tag in. If you have a look down here, all I did was put that break tag in. It didn't work. What I didn't do is put the paragraph opening and closing tags in between it. So what that's done is created a little break between the banner and the menu. Now that's not the best way to do it. It is one way to do it, and it works. But the other way, and probably the more industry recommended or developer recommended way, would be to adjust the style sheets in relation to this navigation bar. And what we want to do there is create some padding or some margins. So we want to create a top margin for this particular navigation menu bar. Now the way to do that, and I'll show you how I do it, is I use a tool. I think I've introduced this before in one of the other earlier issues of WordPress Hub. Now I'll just click on this. It's called Firebug, and it's a plugin for the Firefox browser. And what it allows you to do is when you roll your mouse over, you'll see that in the right hand column just down here, you'll see that certain style sheet information comes up with regards to the element that I'm rolling over. So for example, if I roll over just this banner image, you'll see that if I just roll down a bit more, now if I just click on that and highlight that, you'll see that there's a header image item in the style sheet on line 573. The style sheet is the file that dictates the way the actual theme displays, the styles, the look, the font, okay, the margins, etc., the shadow, even this drop shadow here behind the box of this page of this theme is dictated by the style sheet, and that can all be edited and changed. So if I, for example, go here and click on this, and if I go increase that, do you see what's happening there? Now this is only happening within the browser. That's what I love about this plugin, is that I can see what it looks like before I make the final changes in the actual style sheet. So what that means is I can go in here, make some changes, and it'll show me in the browser what it's going to look like if I make those changes permanently in the style sheet itself. Now the style sheet can be accessed a number of ways. I'll just minimize this for now. You can access the style sheet via here, and you'll see down the bottom here I've got style sheet. I'll just click on that briefly just to show you. This is the style sheet, and it's quite a lengthy document or a lengthy file, and this is where all the information is, all the styles of tables, each element, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, etc., are all declared, and what fonts they're going to be using, how the fonts are aligned. Again, this is all editable. This is just the default design for the 2012 theme, and this also applies to any other theme that's even custom themes will have a style sheet associated with them. So if you go and purchase a theme from one of the theme providers, you'll find that if you want to make custom edits to that, which in most cases people do, they'll go to the style sheet to change those settings to make it look different. So you'll see that all through here, it's quite a lengthy document. There's a lot in here, and I tend to not make the edits to a style sheet directly in here, not because there's anything wrong with it. It's more of a time factor for me, because it doesn't give me it doesn't show me the actual line numbers. And when I go back to here and I just open up the Firebug again, and I select that, what this does, it tells me that the dot header image here and the information that is on line 573 of the style sheet. So for me to find that here, I've got to literally scroll down a whole heap here, and look for the, you know, where it states that. I'll show you where it says dot header image. I've got to scroll down and find it. I could also do a search for it. If I go like this and go dot header hyphen image, you'll find that it'll pop up here, and then I can go to the next version of that, and just until I find the part that relates to the margin, which is, that's it there. Okay, so that this particular section here relates to what this is displaying and telling me here. Okay, so if I go and start playing around with this, and I want to change the size of the margin top distance, once I've done that, I would then go back into my style sheet and header image top. I would change that here. It's in also it's got it in pixels as well. So you would make that edit there. If you're not sure and not all over the CSS what all the different like for example all these things mean, which is like me, I'm not all over this either, but you don't have to be able to make changes to your WordPress theme. This is the point of me doing this, is to show you that you don't have to be a developing expert to be able to do this. All you do is go to there, type in CSS code in the Google search. It'll bring up W3 Schools at the top of the listing. This is a site I go to, and I just type in, I want to find out what margin, if I want to find out what the margins are, the different options I've got for creating margins. I come here and it gives me all the possible values, what they are, what they mean, how I can use them. If I want to define individual margins for the top, bottom, right and left, this is how I would format it for a style sheet. So it's got it all here. So you don't need to remember all this stuff. It's literally there at a click of a button, and you can just go there and have this sitting there in an open tab while you're going through and making some changes to your site. Now again, I prefer to use a different method for editing the style sheet. Again, I'll show you for completeness is what I do. You don't have to do this, but I go into, this is in the WordPress, these are all the files for my WordPress installation on my local machine, and I'm going into the content tab, I'm going into themes where the themes are installed, and you would do this on your hosting server via your FTP application, or directly through the file manager section on your hosting server admin panel. I'd go into 2012 folder, that's where the 2012 theme files are, and I go down to this file here called style.css. All I do here is I open this up with Text Wrangler, which is my choice of application for reading these files, and I'll tell you why, because it's got line numbers all down the left here. So if I want to go down to a specific line, 500 and I can't remember exactly what it was 500 and something, I can go directly to that particular line, and I know that's where that specific, there it is there, it's 541, there it is defined as the header, and the header section for all the header information regarding to the way the header section looks and is defined. And there it is there, padding 24 pixels right there for the top, nothing for the bottom. Again, if you want to know how these what the order of these mean, go into here, CSS, and it tells you what they mean. That's a shorthand property, and you can set up you can set it up like this. Instead of having it one after the other, you can do it in a shorthand. And I don't want this to be a lesson about CSS. I just wanted to quickly show you that. And then you can go, well, the first one relates to the top margin, the second one in line relates to the right margin, and the bottom is that one, and then the left margin is the very last one. So it just lets you know what you're editing, and which order it's happening in. You could easily change that to in an order one after the other, like it has it here. So you could change that to having just define a margin top separate, but it's just adding a little bit more code, more information to the style sheet, so it could slow down the whole loading time of your site. So with that said, I'll go back to my page here and I'll just refresh the browser. You notice that is still the same, okay, since I made that edit there. Okay, and if I just minimize that down, it stays like that. But as soon as I refresh the browser, it clears it and it'll go back to the original settings that the style sheet is. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly give you an overview there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a separate top margin and lower margin for this menu bar here. So the way I do that is find that menu bar first, and I'll just roll my mouse over there, and it gives me, I'll just stop here, it gives me a click, it tells me the main navigation over here to the right, just this section here, is giving me information there about even the top and bottom thickness of the lines here. So if I, for example, see how that's getting thicker just by increasing that. So if I wanted that to look thicker, I can just change that pixel size there. But what I do want to add here is I want to add a top margin and a left margin, a top margin and a bottom margin, because I want to increase that gap without adding the paragraph tag with the block with the space in it that I did previously. I want to remove that. So the way I would do that is I double click in here and I'll just go over to my resource here. I want to put in a margin top, so I just type it in margin hyphen top, and let me do that. So I'm typing it in now, and you'll notice that it automatically detects margin, and then as soon as I hit the space, it's come up with top. Now I could make that right by using the up and down key. So I'm just using the arrow key up, and it's automatically giving me all the options. So I want it to be a top margin, then I'll just tab across, and I want the top margin to be, say, 10 pixels, 10 px, and I finish it off with that a little semicolon there. I also want to do a margin, I want to do, oh damn it, so I've got my top one there. I'm going to do margin bottom is what I'm looking for. There it is. I'll tab across, and I want it to be 10 pixels there, and I'll also add a semicolon there. So what you'll be seeing as I do that is that the space here is increasing. Alright, so that's increasing, the distance here is increasing. Again, if I want to make that bigger, I just do this. See how it's pushing down the header there? It's creating that margin. And likewise here, if I want to increase that gap between the header and the header image and the menu navigation bar, I can just do that by changing that. What I also want to do is I want to remove that bit of code that bit of HTML that I put in initially. So I'm going back into the header PHP file, and I'm going to scroll down here, and this little bit of code here that I put in there just to create the gap between the header image and the navigation bar, I'm going to delete that, because it's not really the best way to do it. It is a way to do it just quickly if you want, just to see how things look, but I just wanted to show you all this for completeness. So I go back in here again. If I refresh this, it'll all go back to normal. So you'll see there that the spaces have returned there and there. So for me to make that change permanent, what I need to do is edit the actual style sheet itself. Okay, so if I want to find this section in the style sheet, I need to go to the style sheet and have a look for line 1460. Alright, so 1460 in the style sheet. I've got it already opened up here in Text Wrangler, so I just scroll down until I find 1460, which is here. Okay, so all I need to do now is, quite simply, I need to add those margins in. Alright, so I can put it anywhere, so I can go margin, top, and then I'll put a semicolon in there, and I'm going to do 10 pixels, and I will just do a semicolon, and that's that one done there. And then I'm going to do margin bottom, and then I'm going to do 10 pixels for that as well, with a semicolon to close it off, and there we have it. So if I go and save that file now, I'll just file save. That has updated my original style sheet document. And now just another word of warning here: if you're going to be editing your style sheet, I suggest you download a copy of it, the original one, and have that in backup. So if you go in here and you start fiddling around with stuff, and for some reason you've freaked the site out in the structure of it, you can always just upload that original document again and overwrite the CSS file, and it will return back to its original condition. So please remember to do that. It's very, very important to keep backups of these files before you start editing them, because you can just replace it and start again. Alright, believe me, I've done it. I've wrecked stuff myself, and it's just a headache. Alright, so I'm going to close this off, and now I'm going to refresh this page. What should happen now is that now you'll see that these margins have appeared here. Okay, so that is how you can go in and edit the margins, or create the margins. So just because the style sheet for this, or any theme for that matter, exists, it doesn't mean they've added all the elements that you can. So that's why a source like this is awesome to go to, because I don't remember or know off the top of my head all the different values that are associated with each style in a style sheet. Okay, so I can simply go here and find all that out, and look up for the specific one. So you know, there's a CSS box model, okay, for the box, and I was talking about how you handle the margins, the border, the padding, and the content. That refers to all the spacing and the shadowing around here. This tells you what that means, the elements that relate to that, how you can format it, gives you examples. It's awesome, and it's a nice little safety net to have there when you're using Firebug here, and you just get up here and you think, oh, you know, I want to go and change the gaps here, the distance. I want my header to be a little bit closer. So what can I do? How can I do that? And if you click on that whole section there, it gives you this option up here. You've got the body.site, and you can go to line 1593, and you've got your back box shadow there. And again, you can increase it, decrease it. That's probably down the bottom where that's doing that now. Let's see what happens here. You can increase the shadow. You've got your margin. I don't know, that's editing something. I'll just count, margin top. For the shadow this is, and you've got padding. So if I go in here, see how that's changing the padding. So if I wanted to make that a little bit closer, I'd go in and reduce that padding there, okay, and I would change that in the style sheet. So if I have a look overall how it looks, oh yeah, I don't mind that, but I'd also want to reduce this section here as well, which is not doing that. What that box padding there is doing is changing. See the gap between the top of the browser? It's changing that. That's why it's really cool to go through this and have a look and familiarize yourself with how all these style elements work and what they're associated with and how they function, because you can edit to your heart's content in here, because it's not changing anything in that original style sheet. It's only editing it and making the changes within the browser. So I'll leave this video here, and in the next one I'll just go through and we'll just make some final changes to clean this up and tidy this header image up and these spaces here. So we'll do that in the next video.